Hi everyone, I'm Stephen and welcome to Audio Nautica, and something very special has just arrived today all the way from Japan. This is a Sansui AU-X11, and a bit of a shout out to Mike from Liquid Audio. It was really his video and his blog post inspired me to become interested in this amplifier, so I'm going to put a link down in the comments to his video and to his blog post. I thoroughly recommend that you go and have a look at them. So let's get this box open and I'll tell you a little bit more about this amplifier later on. Okay, so it's out of the cartons, and the first thing that I'm struck by is absolutely how enormous this thing is. This thing is monstrous. I can't remember what the weight is. I think it's about 35 kilos or something like that, 35, 36 kilograms. There's no sign of any damage to the internal layers of packaging. It's just the outer carton's taken a few whacks, as one would expect. So now, time to get this bubble wrap off and give the unit itself an inspection for any shipping damage. Okay, so here we are, out of the bubble wrap, and yeah, this thing is enormous, far bigger than I realized how big this thing is, which is something you can never get a sense of by looking at things on the internet. So now I'm just going to have a close inspection for any external damage. Okay, so I can't see any obvious signs of external damage. All the likely things like knobs and connectors, ground points on the back, they're all intact, so that's really, really positive. And this unit looks like it's in generally pretty good condition. There are a few little scratches and so on the back, but most of the ones of these that you'll see come up, this is as good, I think, pretty much as any one that I've seen come up. There's a bit of a nasty scratch just here, which is a little bit disappointing. See if I can show you that. Yeah, but look, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, that's not really a big deal. The front panel itself is quite nice. These wooden side panels are very, very typical of Sansui. Look, they look pretty good, but they are actually all chipboard. Everything Sansui, they are all chipboard. So they have a tendency to disintegrate, and obviously if they take a bang on the corners, then they are very easily damaged. So it's in not bad nick, these pieces of wood, but what I would be inclined to do actually is to replace them with solid proper wood rather than this, veneered chipboard rubbish. So incidentally, so this came from a dealer in Japan. I have purchased from this dealer several times before. I've always been very happy with their service. It has a 2-year warranty. Obviously I don't want to have to return it for a warranty because the shipping back to Japan would be very, very expensive, but it gives me a level of confidence. This is not, a random eBay purchase or a Yahoo auctions purchase. And this has come from a dealer who specializes in vintage audio equipment. They've fully serviced it. They're standing behind their product with a 2-year warranty. So that gives me a level of confidence, which is the reason why I bought this one and not one of the, the random ones that comes up from time to time on eBay, where you basically have no guarantee, no level of confidence at all. So, I mean, there's never any guarantees in life, but I'd feel a lot more confident about this one than the normal ones you find. So hopefully, fingers crossed, when I do power it up, it will all be good. But because this has come from a long way, there are always risks of things happening in transit. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the covers off and I'm just going to give it an inspection inside, just to see whether there's any evidence of anything having come adrift inside this unit. Okay guys, we're just going hands-free here so I can just show you a little bit more detail. So we're looking at the bottom side here because that's the easiest to get off just removing some screws to remove the bottom panel. So one of the notable things about these Sansuis is this copper chassis. Really quite incredible. Copper, of course, is a fantastic conductor, but the thing about copper is it's not very strong. So yeah, structural integrity is always a bit of a concern with these things. As you'll see if you look at the video that Mike put up from Liquid Audio. So looking for any evidence, especially of this chassis being out of square, and it looks pretty good to me. Everything looks pretty intact under here, and I can certainly see evidence of the service that the dealer has done. I know they replaced a bunch of parts, and I can see just here a capacitor has been replaced. It looks like a fine gold, and I can see down there I can see some more Nichicon fine golds, which will probably be easier to see from the top side. So it looks pretty solid under here. This part here is solid because you've got this big heavy part wobbling around that could potentially come loose. These capacitors look original, but they're nice Elners, so you don't want to replace those unless you absolutely have to. So this is looking nice and tight under here. So I'm going to button the bottom cover back on, and then we'll have a look from the top side. Okay guys, so we're now having a look at the top side of this gorgeous Sansui AUX11, and it's looking very nice. So split power supplies, so you can see these two fantastic Sansui transformers here. You can see the famous toroidal transformer, and we've got these two Nichicon capacitors here which look original to me. And then yeah, these Sansuis along here, you'd be really annoyed if someone had replaced those when they didn't need to be, and generally they don't need to be because they're just such a fantastic quality part. But then, so I've got the covers off for the various sub-modules. You can see quite a lot of these electrolytic capacitors have been replaced, and they've all been replaced with Nichicon fine gold, which is a very good quality part on both boards. So that is fantastic. It looks to me like these trim pots are new as well. I'm sure there's other parts in there that have been replaced as well. I just can't see. I'm certainly not going to pull the board out if I don't need to. And then over here, I'm not sure which board is which, but two of these are the phono stages. So apparently this amplifier has an excellent phono stage, and I'm not quite sure what the other boards are, but again, those trim pots look like they have been replaced to me. Just having a bit of a look, because I did see it reported somewhere on the internet that these supposedly have the black flag capacitors in them, which are prone to failure, but I cannot see any. So either this one didn't have any or they've been replaced. It's just a little bit hard to tell, but I cannot see any black flag capacitors in there, which is where I would expect to find them. So this is all looking pretty clean inside. So I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to put these covers back on now. Okay guys, so firstly, this thing is 100 volts only, being from Japan. So I have this 100 volt AC output isolation transformer from Tortec. And I also have it connected through my dim bulb tester. So if there's anything catastrophic going on, it shouldn't fry things. So let's see what happens. Okay, so we've got 100 volts there. Volume is all the way down, so if we turn it on. That's not necessarily bad, because this is a thumping great big amplifier, and so that doesn't necessarily mean that there's a problem. Okay, so I took the dim bulb tester out and I hooked up a watt meter so I could just see how much power it's pulling. And yeah, this is the problem with the dim bulb tester. It's really not that much use on a big amplifier like this because they pull a fair bit of power even on idle. So it's pulling about 90 watts on idle. So I mean, I did take a bit of a risk connecting it up, but I've done an inspection. It comes with known pedigree. It's sold as a working unit with warranty, so in theory it shouldn't be going bang. I've got dummy loads on the output of it, so I checked the DC offset. There's no DC coming out, and I got a SIGGEN hooked up to the inputs with 500 hertz, and I put a frequency counter on one of the outputs, and when I turn the volume up, there's 500 hertz there. So it passes those tests with flying colours. So I think the next stage is to hook some real speakers up to it and see if it will make noise. Okay guys, we've had a little bit of a setback. I just moved the AUX X11 up to where I could work on it a bit more easily, and moved the isolation transformer as well to be in the right place. So when I turned the isolation transformer on, it went bang, and I saw a big flash inside the isolation transformer. Now the AUX X11 was turned off when this happened, and there's something rolling around inside this unit, which sounds kind of metallic. So, I'm not sure what's going on there. This unit's brand new, so I think I will be taking it back. But anyway, that's okay. I've got a plan B that I just need to think about as to whether we can get this AUX X11 to the next stage. Okay guys, we've got this baby playing, which is really, really fantastic. I was able to get it going with plan B, but I can't really crank it with plan B. So plan B was my Variac here, which I've got set to 100 volts output, but the Variac's only rated to 500 VA. So I can't really do any sort of cranking on this thing because otherwise I'll lose my voltage. Yeah, very disappointing that my isolation transformer certainly seems to have failed. So yeah, sorry Tortec. Looks like you're going to have to be giving me another one. But yeah, it's a great relief it wasn't the AUX X11. I mean, I didn't think it was because I knew that it was off when I turned the isolation transformer on, and something seems to be rattling around on the inside, which is certainly not right. So, as I mentioned, I can't give this thing a proper audition just at the moment till I get my transformer repaired. But this unit is rated 160 watts a channel. And the reason why I got this is because this is super high bandwidth. So it will go up to 300 kilohertz. And I can't remember, it goes down almost to DC basically. So this is one of your fully DC coupled amplifiers all the way through. So if you put DC on the inputs, it'll give you DC on the outputs, which is not good for speakers generally. But that ability to produce high bandwidth sound, what I'm hoping is that basically drums should sound like drums. In most hi-fi systems, when a drummer hits a drum, it sounds like a thud rather than a hit. And you hear a live drum kit and then listen to a drum kit coming out of a set of speakers. It's never the same. So I'm really hoping that this, coupled with my fantastic JBL Studio monitors, will be able to do something along those lines. So I'm going to have to get this isolation transformer replaced, I'd imagine. And when I've done so... Hi everyone, welcome back. A new day and hopefully a new result, fingers crossed. So there we are. Sounding absolutely fantastic, this thing, this Sansui AU-X11. So I've just come back from TourTech a little bit earlier today. As you saw earlier, the step-down transformer that I had blew, and so I took it back to them, and they opened it up then and there for me, which was great. And there's a inrush current protection device inside of it, and it had actually somehow or other broken in half. Their engineer thought probably from an inrush current event. So that's what I could hear that was rolling around inside the transformer, and presumably what was arcing, which caused the bang and the fuse to blow as well. So I don't know whether that was caused by an inrush event that happened here, or whether it was like that when I picked it up. There's no real way of telling. But it does seem to me that there is a pretty substantial inrush when this AU-X11 is powered up. So I decided to upgrade to the 1500 watt version instead of the 1000 watt version. And it is substantially beefier in terms of its casework and so on. The other one felt a little bit dinky, I thought. So I'm a lot happier about that. And it's got a circuit breaker on the front rather than a fuse. Yeah, it just generally feels more solid, and I'm just a lot more comfortable in having this beefier transformer. So I've got this thing hooked up to my DAC now, and I've just spent a couple of hours listening to some recordings that I know really, really well. And I'll just turn that down. But I've just listened to some recordings that I know really, really well, both through the DAC and also through on records on the turntable. And yeah, I'm really, really impressed. This thing is just incredible. I get the sense that for the first time ever, this is an amplifier that is capable of driving these JBL Studio monitors the way that they should be driven. So I just feel that this is an amplifier that can get the best out of these JBL speakers in a way that I've never heard before. So that's really fantastic. My initial impressions so far for listening are that the soundstage imaging is just incredible. Just listening to the recording, every sound, every instrument, I feel like I can identify where it's coming from in the soundstage, which is just really, really amazing. The thing about a fantastic amplifier is that a fantastic amplifier does not have to be listened to loudly to sound good. Only bad amplifiers need to be listened to loudly to sound any good. So at low to moderate listening levels, which is what I usually listen at, this sounds absolutely fantastic. There's still plenty of bass. The bass is the way it should be at low listening levels. The treble, it is all there. But again, a lot of cheaper amplifiers, the way they, I guess, try to make up for perhaps inadequate treble is to make it louder. And you end up with a kind of a harshness. Whereas with this, the treble is just there, but there's no indication of any harshness about it whatsoever. So that's just amazing. In terms of speed, I mentioned earlier that that was something that really interested me about this amplifier. I think the jury is still out on that a little bit. I'll need to do some testing. I really would be interested to see on a scope what the square wave response of this amplifier is, but I don't actually have the gear I need just at the moment to be able to test that properly, so that will just have to wait. And then also look forward to doing some distortion testing, so I'll do that in a later video. But yeah, this thing is just amazing. And just quickly coming back to the soundstage, it's just so incredible listening to them hitting the, the various drums on a drum kit. Each individual drum, I can place it in the soundstage when listening to it. I don't think I've ever heard that before. So this is just amazing. I don't think it's placebo effect. But yeah, I'm really blown away by this amplifier and can really see why people rave about this so much, despite the fact that it's very, very unknown outside of Japan. So I do hope that you've enjoyed this video of powering up this Sansui AU-X11 and getting it going. If you have, please give me a thumbs up, please subscribe to my channel, and I really look forward to seeing you on the next video. Bye for now.